What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Shot Tank. This is my 38th time on air today. Good to be back. We're joined by the whole crew. We'll start at the bottom. We'll work our way around. TST, what's going on, man? How are we doing?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. Apparently, we're getting some sort of polar vortex or something on Friday, so enjoying it not being too cold just yet.
Nice.
Oh,
That's
geez.
just like normal, anyways, right? You're like kind of
I don't know.
perpetually.
People are like worried about their cars not starting. They're worried about schools getting shut down. So I guess it's a little more, but we'll
Sounds
see.
like vacation to me. I don't know. Sounds like vacay. JBB, what's going on with you, man?
Just bobbing and weaving a tough NBA slate tonight, dude. Like the Trey Jones, Sohan are out, Jeremy Grant concussion, a whole lot of action going on. And somehow I've managed to dodge most of it so far in cash tonight on DK.
I splashed around in the pick'ems, and I actually am off to like a pretty solid start. Those Eric Gordon free squares look nice early, but I have the Celtics scored. They've scored 97 points so far. Grant Williams has zero, of those 97, and I only needed 7.5 points from him, which like really incredible work by Batman. Jeff, what's going on with you, man? How are you doing?
I'm good. Just been recovering from being sick. So, just a lot of all world, a lot of being on Twitter, just anything that doesn't require me to move a lot.
There you go.
But hopefully we'll be back and at it soon enough.
Drink those fluids. All right, here's what we got going on today. We are going to actually, I'm going to steal something from the NBA Athletic Show on the Monday show, the Basketball Buds. They give Jay King of the show the Kings Minute, and they give him a minute to talk about the Kings at the end of every show. And we're going to do that for Jeb. And each week, Jeb has to choose between All World or UFC Strike.
Okay.
So we'll do that towards the end. But for today, what we're going to do, we're going to talk a little Top Shot up top because they had 14,000 announcements today. And like honestly, some good stuff too. And then we'll talk some So Rare as well. As I tweeted out earlier, my underdog lineup is outscoring my contender lineup right now, and like not that close. The good news is my underdog lineup is going to cash. But let's start with some of the. Wow, Pokebro Eric has a new avatar, and it's his face, dude. Look at that.
Oh God, change it back. That's so bad.
We got to pay extra.
You should not
for
take
that.
selfies.
That's basically a super chat. All right, let's start with some of the Top Shot announcements today. So we can, I'll let you dealer's choice. Where do you want to begin with it? I know we had Evaluate.market do like a mega stream. I think I don't know. I got a bunch of screenshots of everyone that's ever worked at Dapper appeared at one point. But they were doing bulk buying. We've got some burning challenges. And where do you want to begin?
I definitely might have missed the bulk buying thing, so maybe let's start there. What's the scoop on that?
Evaluate.market, I believe, rolled out something that is allowing bulk buying through their program. I imagine it's similar to how they used.
So, because I'm looking. They don't just have trading now; they also have a marketplace. Is that what we're talking about?
I haven't logged into Evaluate.market since 2021. I have no idea like what exactly they got going on over there. All I do is read the tweets, and the tweet said they did one of those, very fancy tweets that I do all the time, where it's like emoji as a bullet point, and one of them was bulk buying coming to the Evaluate.market.
I mean, that's really cool considering that's something Top Shot talked about for a while, and it's something like when there was a lot of demand on Top Shot and people were trying to get those 350 trade tickets together for Series 1's packs. That was like a huge deal. Also, shout out to Skeets. I appreciate the W. Hopefully, I can take home another one in the future. So thank you.
That is honestly, that is like, I still say Twitter funny based on their Twitter of the night. I would say Twitter. So I like that is a really big deal.
Yeah, someone hit me up and I was like, oh my gosh, like someone hit me up outside of this like bubble I live in.
Yeah.
And they're like, didn't you do this? I was like, oh, fuck yeah.
Wild that they knew people outside of this bubble know you go by actually Jeb Bush.
Very few.
Also, this is very close to the NBA All World Minute, so be careful.
Okay, I'm not. No, don't worry. I'm saving that. But I mean, okay, so Evaluate has recently pivoted. They went from being really focused on flow to just being like, oh, we want to cover everything. And they spread themselves so thin, they didn't do anything well. And now they've focused back on flow and they seem to be just doing some pretty cool stuff. Like the trade machine is pretty cool considering you can do it across different collections.
That is cool.
I mean, that's pretty dope. And then the fact, like, you can trade UFC Strike for NBA Top Shot.
Careful.
And I know that's not part of my minute either. So I think it's cool that they're continuing to innovate and build tools. It's the same thing how we were like, it's objectively cool that Floaty made their own marketplace. Like, if there's innovation going on in the space that benefits just the Flow blockchain in general, that's legitimately like super important if there's any type of like lifespan for NFTs as a whole, or like Flow and all the technology behind it.
Do you think there's any reason, because I was seeing Tesla's comment, who again, I'm trying to make this positive, but he's saying they always make this so hard, and then other people just do it real quick. Do you think there's reasons that they were like, oh, we don't want bulk buying on here yet, because I mean, they obviously don't, they like fund Evaluate or are invested in Evaluate or something? There's some sort of partnership.
There's some partnership there, yeah.
So what do we?
I think I could jump in there because they've leveraged our like Flash Challenge creator before and stuff like that. I mean, I think just from a business standpoint, I don't think I think it's a smart choice that they try to leverage as many resources as possible. And I don't think maybe that's like the first reaction is like, oh well, why don't they just do it on the Top Shot website? But like if it's possible for other people to do things quicker and get it to market faster and yada 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 for whatever reason, right? Who knows if it's a bandwidth thing with the engineering team or the way that their initial code has been built, or if it's a thing with the NBA or whatever the hell it is, right? I mean, there's probably plenty of reasons for why it could be something slow on the Top Shot side. And so if they can, because I'm assuming a lot of these things are kind of through the ecosystem fund deal, and so if they can utilize that to leverage other people, resources, websites, stuff like that to provide more value, I think it's a positive. I do think like this last week is a good example of where it may start to feel like a bit confusing for people though, right? And not like not trying to discredit anything that Floaty or Evaluate have been doing, but like with both of those kind of going live, and I still can't fully figure out the Evaluate thing because it says they have a marketplace, but I haven't really been able to buy right now. I've been trying to click around, but maybe it's kind of coming soon or something. But still, it just kind of feels like maybe people who haven't really branched out of the Dapper wallet are like, holy shit, like there's all these other things you can do, and like what's the point of it, or why? And I could also go to Gia and like kind of so I think it may be a bit overwhelming there. So yeah, I mean that, but I don't really think it's like a downside for like other people doing it. That's like the whole part of the decentralized stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It says a new feature is coming. Bulk buying. Find and add moments to your cart and check out everything in one transaction. This can include moments from All Day, Top Shot, and UFC Strike. So, and if anything,
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
if anything,
super cool.
Yeah, this kind of speaks to the whole Dapper sports ecosystem, right? Which was something that they talked about for a little while, and then we haven't heard much from. But it is, yeah. I mean, that's cool. That is cool. I mean, that's especially if you're trying to mesh those things together. Bottomine's on one today. I can tell he's in the zone right now. Poke Pro Eric said, "Did any of you watch Gen Pseudo with Jacob today?" No, but I did see the screenshots that you put in each one of our individual Discords today. So I did see that, BB. But let's talk a little bit. So yeah, anyways, all of that's good, right? Like any sort of building, whether it's the Floaty marketplace or the Evaluate marketplace, I do think that it has to become more like easier to navigate for newer people at some point. Not that those sites aren't, but just that like if you're new to Top Shot, you're not gonna be like, oh, I just need to get over to evaluate.xyz. You know what I mean? Like that's not something that's gonna feel natural. So
and I think that's where Top Shot could probably do some work on like some more comms on their end, out to, and it's kind of weird because maybe there's a little bit of a conflict of interest sometimes. Like one of the good things of floaty is you get the 2.5% versus the 5%, right?
Right.
So I don't know if that's something like Top Shot's gonna be like shouting from the roofs, like, "Hey, everybody, deploy yourself to floaty." But at the same point, like they are, inevitably helping fund a portion of probably what they're doing through the ecosystem, right?
Mhm.
So if that's happening, and it's and obviously Floaty's doing more than just Dapper stuff, right? So if that's taking place, then there needs to be some amplification, right, from the flow side to help introduce that to people, because there's only so many things like NBL and those guys can do on their end to try to tweet and give people updates on it, versus like it coming from another angle that says, hey, here's something you can now do with your moments, or here's a
Right.
new marketplace, or here's a new function that is available to you within the Dapper wallet, kind of thing.
Maybe we'll get a blog post or something that'll cover that.
Well, I was gonna say, I think the one thing is like any viable collectible is something that you can buy across multiple platforms and isn't attached to the main source. So I think this is something that's super necessary. And I mean, we're in the early stages, but I mean, it's a very important thing, and it's very encouraging to see that, there's still people building this stuff. Because, I don't necessarily I'm not putting all my eggs in the Top Shot basket these days, but I'm obviously not rooting for them to fail. And like, these are important, encouraging steps to see.
This is a good one. Jeb 3. Bottom really is. He is in the zone right now. He's cooking. I like that. I think you're right. And it just, if anything, it's good for all of the NFT bros on Twitter that are like building. We're in the bear market. So good to see the builders build. Let's should we talk a little bit about the challenges? I know there really are so many challenges going on right now, but I think there are a couple important, I don't know, important might not be the right word, but positive ones that have just been announced, right? So John, do you want to talk a little bit through the mechanics of what they're doing with was it the rise utilizing the Rising Star and the All-Star game ones?
Yeah, so they did the one where you get a 4-pack of rookie debut packs, which is kind of interesting. And I guess it doesn't appear that it's taking from the supply that's not selling out, but it might be. I don't really know. They weren't very clear on that, but the counter is still ticking on the website, right? So I'm guessing it's just an additional kind of stack of rookie debut packs. But basically you got to burn 2 rares, and then I forget if that one's locked 2 more moments. Is it locked 2 more moments?
It's lock a bunch more, I think.
Lock like 6 more, I think, right? But they're
Yeah,
just rookie.
5 more, yeah.
5 more. Is that one just rookie double badges, right?
It's any of the
Just
players
rookie
that are in
TSDs.
any of players that are in the 2023, no?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can use Jose Alvarado, who's a 12K.
Yeah.
So you don't have to use
Yeah.
a 4 badger.
Yeah. So anyways, that's the most, I guess, expensive one, right, from a burn standpoint. And we saw the floor of the rares go from like, I think $25 up to $35 or something, at least. Maybe I don't know if I was looking earlier today. I'm not sure if they've come down since then, but I don't know. I think that's an interesting one, because, but I wouldn't really complete it necessarily.
Yeah, I saw you tweet something out about that today. About well, before you go into that though, I do think, like, I just want to say I do think this is good, right? Like, this is what I think we were hoping to see for a while, and this is definitely like a step in the right direction with them requiring like way more of this burning and locking for these challenges, right? Like, do we all agree on that? Is anybody out on that?
I mean, I will say I think they've been doing a bunch of locking. It's just I wish personally to see more burning.
Yeah.
I think it's nice to see them giving out something other than a fandom moment too, that we've been like talking about for a long time. So that's positive. And then like, it's not just that they are burning, but like, I think they made a really strong choice of what to burn. Like these, high mint count rares that, like, probably looking back, they think were a mistake to especially the Rising Stars, right? Like they already corrected that from Series 2 to Series 3. They're like, oh no, we shouldn't be doing these, 2,000 min counts of these Rising Stars. So I think targeting those rares in particular, and I think kind of when we talk about, burning, locking, all that, when we talk about it, net neutral and all that, everyone kind of the undertone to all that isn't always discussed and gets lost a little bit is that, like, okay, if all we do is like reduce the commons by a bunch, but we don't reduce any of the rare tier or any of the legendary tier, and then we put out a bunch more rares and legendaries, the stuff that is supposed to be the highest value, that is not going to be net neutral. So I think that's a positive too.
Definitely. That's a great point.
I mean,
all right.
The thing that I would bring up is, like, if you look at the website right now, there's like 9 or 10 challenges going, right? So, and I think that's still a little bit of a miss. Like I thought the 3 that they introduced today, which I think were all kind of geared around like the Rising Stars announcement kind of thing, which is fine. But like, it just seems like maybe we could have taken a break and like not done the Austin Reeves and the Anthony Simons like fandom also, right? It's like you don't like need to keep just and now they're doing 2 a night on the fandoms, and it's just like, holy fuck, like how many more fandoms can we do?
Well, it's this weird balance too, because like you were seeing for almost like a month straight that it was the same, like 200 people were completing each challenge. And like there was, there were a lot of people who, had a bunch of moments, but not a ton of them. And, or not like all of the high end ones. And like, they were like, why can't we engage in any of the challenges? So Top Shot responded by doing all of this. And I get it.
Yeah.
It is like overwhelming though. Like, I mean, the amount of pings that come in that challenge Discord is like pretty out of control, and it is. You're right. It's overwhelming, and like I think the rivals week. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that like whole thing, like, yeah. So that's another good example. Like they did the 5 rivals week, and now they have like the 3-pack ones, and then there's like, the Mobley one, which is fine. That's just part of the MGLE, and then like 2 more fandom ones tonight, and so like that kind of is just like a good illustration of like the whole like Top Shot doesn't know exactly what they are kind of thing, right? Like it just doesn't seem intentional, right? It just seems reactive, right? And so like when you exactly what you're bringing up, where people are like, wait, all these challenges are hard, like why can't you do easier challenges? So then now they're doing 2 fandoms a night, and then like, I mean, like I tweeted out the other day, like, okay, all these fandoms are kind of getting boring. Like, I'm surprised they haven't done other stuff, and now they do some other stuff, and then like the rivals weeks, it was kind of random rolling those 5 out, and so it's just like all this stuff that like in maybe in a vacuum like all seems good, and then but then I just think like it loses some of its intentionality or luster when they're all jammed up at once and there's 9 going, and people are like, well, I don't really think these have as big of an impact. And
I mean,
and so
to push back a little, I feel like I agree that Top Shot does tend to be reactionary, but I feel like these are things they probably actually had planned out, because the Rivals week is pretty established. Rising Stars and All Stars and stuff is going to come around. So I don't think they're being super reactionary on that side of things. I think we are going to see this many challenges. I think maybe there's just got, to your point, there has to be like a balance. And I think it's an extremely tough thing to do. But whether that's separate the challenges like by tabs, so there's like easy challenges, like I don't know, like,
but that doesn't work, because like the easy challenge the other night just got like triple bottlenecked or whatever, so it wasn't even really that easy.
Yeah. And then and then the whole thing, if you call it easy and it's not easy, people get upset and all that. I remember
sort of Chewy's big things last year.
It does make me think though, like, and I'm not saying this is the answer, but I remember there was a lot of dialogue back in October about like, oh yeah, we're doing a playbook. And we're like, all of it lives in one place and it's a little bit easier. You know what I do think too, and I noticed this today when I was vibing during my locker room pack rip. I think if the UI was a little bit sharper, this would be a little bit better too. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of the tough things right now where everything's a little bit slow. And so like you like click the challenges page and then you can go down a couple and then 15 more load. And I think like all of that is to account for some of the confusion. And again, not that any one of these things immediately fixes the issues that we're talking about, but I do think like all of it combined is a little bit tough. Cause I think from the Top Shot perspective, if you think about it, and some of the stuff that we've talked about forever, right? They wanted to have like packs readily available for new people. They're doing that. They're like a bunch of challenges across like for people who have a big collection, for people who don't. And then they also they just introduced like bulk buying as well. So it feels like they're answering a lot of stuff. It's just not, we're just not there yet, you know?
Well, I think, that's a good point about the UI. Cause like it is a bit clunky to have to go click into all of them and see like, okay, what the hell's going on with this one? And like,
Yeah,
I mean,
a
even
lot
with
of
the
tabs.
three ones that came out today, like I went through each of them. I did a Discord write up, and I still like don't exactly remember the specifics on the three of them. And like, I mean, at one point, Moment Nerd and I were, this is kind of the frustrating thing about Dapper is like one point we were talking about creating like dashboard for every person, right? So where you would
Right.
kind of like log in and you would be able to see like, okay, here's the 9 challenges, like get some green bubbles next to moments you have from them, like a little cost to complete on the side for each of them. And you can kind of get a quick glance at like, oh, maybe I'll check these out, or I won't even look at these. But then like it's just hard to tell like should we put a lot of resources and time into that, and then we've seen them go months with like just having one challenge every couple days, and so that it's like it's not as impactful. So that's the whole like
Right.
part where I wish they would be more intentional with like it, right? And like but you're still a beta, so we're still figuring stuff out.
All right, I know we like covered a lot there. Is there anything else? Like I feel like we got 5 more minutes or so before I'd like to
I'll
pivot.
I'll reiterate my stance on the locker room packs again this week, just because those are now firing out. So we've got 1.6 million of those up. I ran the EV on them. They're so this is how I did the EV, and there's a couple people that were pushing back on it, but basically every series 1 and common LE moment, which there's quite a few of them, I just did whatever those were for the lowest ask. And then every moment that's currently worth 2, I equaled that to $1. And every moment that's currently worth $1, I put that as 50 cents. It's the first time that I've done something that wasn't $1 in my calcs, but the thought process that I had was there's a lot of the dollar floor is kind of slowly going away. It probably, I don't know, within the next week or so, maybe it's gone. And so moments right now that because like as of lunchtime today, there was about 160 moments that were a floor of 1 with no offers on them, right? So it's not like the $1 floor is completely gone, right? There's still quite a few ones out there. And so my thought process was like, well, those moments, maybe a 50% chance you sell them for $1, 50% chance you can't sell them. And then the moments that just have like crept up to 2, well, those aren't really worth 2, right? Those are still worth $1. And so that was just kind of like a general stance. And so the packs right now are, a cost of $4, and the EV is about $3. And that'll change over time. Maybe as more things are selling for $1, those numbers slightly go up. But in general, the 40 trade ticket packs that they're going to be coming out with, which it sounds like could be as early as this week, from what Mo was saying in the Collectors Club Discord.
Yeah, in the announcement they said it would be in less than a week, I believe.
Yeah. So those ones are going to be better. Those ones are the EV of just the Series 1 moment that you're guaranteed should be a little over $40. So you're not probably going to be losing money, or I mean, you're not making a ton of money, but at least it's a positive expected value there. So I would definitely be holding off for those and trying to get as many of those as possible, and then firing everything back into this the 4 to 3 maneuver. But again, I think until, and this is something that I've asked, and for them to kind of be clear with what's going on with the Series 1 moments, because even after this drop, there's still about 90,000 that are in packs. But until we know about that, like, I would just be going with the mindset that I don't want any trade tickets after these packs are done, right? Because there's really no telling when a better batch of locker room packs is going to happen. And I just don't think it's really worth taking the risk of having a ton of like moments that are literally worth 0 in your account than getting off of them now and either using them for packs or selling them for $1 or sometimes 2 if you can, like we see in the challenges today.
Wow. That's very uplifting.
I'm excited for those 40 trade ticket packs, to be honest. And like, I haven't traded in what I need to yet. And I'm like worried that they're just going to like drop them on us at like midnight or something. And then I'll just like, because I think they're going to fly. Like, I think those things
those things
absolutely
are going to be gone.
And the only reason the locker room ones right now aren't like a bigger dent in that number is because people are waiting for these. So like that is going to increase, that like speed is going to really increase once everyone's gone through the other ones. But like I'm so much like happier to go through my like trade ticket moments with a 40 pack, knowing that I'll at least get like some Series 1 and it has more, like has less to do with the odds or anything or EV or anything like that, but just like that I know that I can just like do that rather than like, if I turn through 40 trade tickets with the other ones, I might actually end up with more than one Series 1 and everything, but I just don't want to like invest the time to do that. And just like knowing that like you'll have at least an interesting pull in the pack, I think is a big positive.
Yeah, I risked 31 locker room packs yesterday. I didn't get anything. So at this point, I'm just gonna wait till after the 40 ticket ones.
I went and looked today during the show because I mean, honestly, I hadn't checked in a while, and I really am down to. I think I have like 9 moments that aren't locked, and then I have like 3 something that I think are. Which, dude, A+, no regrets. I got those Clampies that I gave away. I think on this show maybe, but yeah. All right. Anything else? Wait, John, there was one other thing and I cut you off. Just explain why you want to sell into this challenge instead of do the challenge. Because I thought that was an interesting tweet.
Oh, well, I mean, my stance is that the Series 4 rookies kind of suck. And because they do, kind of. So I'm not really that enticed. Like, the best thing you're going to get out of these Series 4 rookie packs is a Keegan Murray, right? Which is like
$30,
$35 or something, right? And so like, whatever. It's just not like that amazing, right? Like you can literally sell one of these all-star games that's worth 35 and go buy the best thing that you can possibly get out of these packs instead, right? And so like, from that standpoint, there's that angle. And then my other thing was like, these all-star game and rising star moments are like, you could argue that they're almost worse than like the $1 a liquid moments, because they're like, they just never pump, right? Because like they just have to have like such a unique circumstance for them to pump on a challenge, because anytime that there's like a rare that's required, it's almost always out bottlenecked by something with a lower mint count, right? So yes, they are somewhat people like them because they're the cheapest version of some players, but once you have it, like, it's just really only going down. It's not like ever really pumping. And just like, I mean, shit, we've been on Top Shot for 2 years now, boys. Anytime that they specifically pump a certain moment in your collection, you should freaking sell it. That's like it's so
that's what I've been doing for a while.
Like, I'm pretty sure that's like the first like 10 videos I made was just like, you should sell every challenge.
It's that's nothing. It's not even anything new. It's definitely something we've kind of always said.
The only thing that's new is like, it just hasn't really happened for
it's
like
not
6 or 8 months, like, so it's like, holy crap, like, what does this mean?
I'm going to use this to pivot to So Rare, because I will say that is like the lesson learned from Top Shot I have taken to So Rare, even though, and there's sometimes where I won't do it because I've done like I've used like my mental calculator, and I was like, well, I actually think this is better for me to play it versus selling it. But the example is I hit a tier 2 reward last week in rare, and it was a Rui. And I was like, man, I really don't want a Rui. And then I saw that everybody was out for the Lakers. And I think Jeb told me, he was like, dude, that's actually like a gold mine tier 2. And I saw
sell that, please.
Yeah,
please
and I saw it was like going for like 140, and I was like, see ya. I'll share a screen and pull up So Rare. I'm curious like what that is now, knowing that was just like a few days ago, to see how much it moved. But at least it made sense.
And he also just didn't really play that well.
And he was bad, I know.
He was super bad, so it should go down quite a bit, I would think.
And it goes back to what Jeb said too, like things pump again too. Oh no,
he played well.
But Mike, you had the Lakers one, dude. I think you sold that a little low.
No way, dude. No way. It was the best. It's
because he played well in the second game. He put up like 37.
Yeah, he did.
35 in the second game. Like once everyone was back, he played better.
Do you know how mad I would be if I played him in my contender, didn't sell, and then this was my contender lineup? Like I would have tilted my balls off with freaking who was it? Oh, Luka got ruled in, so this was garbage. Brandon Clark's being outperformed. Juan Toscano Anderson got exercised in that first game. Jericho Sims sucked. I would be tilting my face.
Sims
off.
was so bad, and freaking shit, I don't even know.
JTA is a no play. He might be the only person in the NBA worse than Ben Simmons.
Yeah, he's definitely worse than Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
And John and I, we're like, dude, let's not just play him in So Rare. Let's put him in all of our underdog pick'ems, dude.
Did underdog with him too.
I was the ultimate under. That's for sure.
I was hosting a show like an in-person show last night, and because I'm in New York, the Knicks game was on in the background. So, and like Sims really sticks out, and like 45 minutes would pass without him coming onto the court, and I was like, God damn it!
No. I know. You're like, no, he's a good putback guy. I'm like, dude, we need him to be just a minutes guy right now. Like,
speaking of which,
speaking of exercise, dude, Josh Hart hasn't been on the court for 31 minutes tonight. Has 2 rebounds and 2 assists. Like, come on,
cardio, dude.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. We don't really have anything scheduled to talk about So Rare wise.
I have something that I think is interesting and can maybe result in a pretty fun conversation. So, because I think we've had the conversation before of like, do you focus on contender or focus on champion and yada yada yada. And this week was the first week that I kind of that I did it opposite. So usually I always build my champion lineup and then I just fill in the rest for contender. But for some reason, like and I think with my rare lineups, I just don't have like the same, depth of cards, right? And so like this week, I didn't really have much going for me under like 18. And like it's always it's good to get like somebody down there that you can kind of pop in and then kind of go from there. And I just didn't really like anything I was building on the champion side. And so then I went to the contender and I fit in like, I made a pretty decent contender. I don't really think it's doing well, but I made a pretty decent one from the projection standpoint. And then when I went back, I did basically like what you guys were doing with the Alondas Williams, where I just threw in, like for me, I threw in Christian Brown, who I think was only like a 5 or something. And
I think his cap's like 3 or something.
He did okay last night, didn't he?
Yeah, he got like 9.
Dude, that's dark green on the spreadsheets, baby.
Yeah, I know it is. I was banking on a 0 though, and I was basically like, he was projected for a 0. I was banking on a 0 and just him, giving me that cap to be able to fit like Brunson and SGA and Bane and whoever else I played. And that was kind of the first time where I was like, this may be like a decent. Depending on the weeks, like it's a decent strategy, I think.
Every gallery tells a story, John.
That's right.
You gotta let your gallery tell the lineup story.
That's right.
No,
anyways,
go ahead. Somebody else go.
I was gonna say I got it's interesting you bring that up because someone had tagged me and they had bought an Alondis when I tweeted it out and used it and like placed higher than they thought, and they're like, "Oh, thanks." And I got in this conversation with this guy who didn't think it was a good strategy, and I'm like, you know what, like maybe if you're trying to win the tournament, a lot more has to go right for you if you're doing it. But even then, I've seen people take down, like score upper tier, like place very high, like punting a player. Like for example, like if you had Luca this week, playing Luca in your contender and then sticking in Alondis Williams or something like that in there is definitely worth like squeezing him in there because I mean Luca could put up 120 for all you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, Jeb. I know you watched this too. I was checking out some of So Rare Data NBA's YouTube show today, and they were talking a little bit about that. And I mean, I think it like all and I know I joked about every gallery tells a story, but I think it does depend on like what contest you're playing in, how many like you can't do that in a common contender to take down a tier 1, right? Because you're going against 100,000 people. You gotta run pure. And I honestly, that's probably the same for a limited contender if you're trying to win the thing. But I guess it's like all about what your goals are. Like, are you just trying to snag? Are you just trying to cash, right? Like, you're just trying to make sure you get a reward, or are you trying to go for a tier 1 first? Thank you. Right. So like it totally depends on like what your goals are. I don't know. Have you guys thought about it like that way, or do you have like a specific mindset for all of these?
No, I think that's pretty interesting
Sharp?
way to phrase it. Yeah, well, sharp. Yeah, that's sharp. Very sharp. Sorry, should have been quicker to that. No, like because I was just thinking as you were saying that, I was like, yeah, I feel like I'm to the point like in limited even where I'm just like trying to like win limited, right? But then like
Yeah.
rare, I'm stoked to like cash a rare and just get
Totally.
like anything just to like keep kind of building my rares up. And so I think but you just have to be cognizant that like you're building lineups for that also, right? And something that I haven't really looked at, and maybe this is something we could do next week or whatever, and I can try to prep something, is like looking at kind of some of the ownership like within the cards, because like I mean if Luca is going to be like 9% owned and limited, right? Like if you there's almost a point where like you just shouldn't play Luca if you have him, which I know sounds like crazy, but like for whatever game week he scores 30, like you're gonna have a better chance versus
I
all the game
mean,
weeks where he scores 85 and then you just have to get all the other guys right also
But I
versus like
think
9% or I don't know.
But I think that comes back to like, are you trying to win or not? Because the circulation isn't that high on these cards yet, like having Luca might just mean you cash automatically, or like having that guy as 100 and then just like doing all right in the other ones. And it's not a situation where like everyone can pick them like DFS. So I think that's like where the difference is. But I agree, if we're just talking about like hitting like hitting 1, 2, 3 in a contest somewhere in that range, then yeah, you might want to fade. But like, should you be doing that like week over week? And then because you still have to
maybe Luca was a bad example just because
because I'm about to
like,
say it also
scores a lot of like freaking 90s.
Yeah, and if you don't have someone to replace him, you have to play Luka. Like if you don't have a Giannis or an Embiid or someone that like has that ceiling, like you're stuck playing him even if 10%, 20% of the field is playing him, because like you're limited to your cards. So unless you're just going to go and blow a cool couple $100 or depending upon what tier you're looking at, like you do, like you're buying that Luka and you have to get the value out of it by playing it every week.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I will say too, like that, again, it depends like what cards you have, like what your gallery is. But I think like what my main thing is the whole punt play, right? Where if you punt, in my opinion, in like the limited and maybe even in the rare contender, like you're probably not taken down first if you punt. Like but you can get like a tier 3 probably. Like if this is like, hey, I could get 60 points from Luca, and then probably a 0, right? Versus like a 30 and 30. I don't know. So, but basically what I was saying is like, I totally get that play. If your play is like, make sure I get a card, like let's get a card here. Cause then I totally get that. But if you are shooting podium, tier 1, tier 2, like you can't do it.
So I picked up Nolandis for both limited and rare. And the only part that I'll push back is that like it's for people like to try to cash without having to spend more. Right. Because even to cash, it's probably not the best strategy for the most part, but it is a good strategy to cash without having to go find someone, especially in like contender and stuff. So like I haven't even thought to really use it in the limited very much. I think the very first week I just like made a lineup to see what it would look like. But then I was like, no, I have better options because I have like quite a bit of limited cards. But rare, the reason I bought it was just so that like I could field something in contender and champion every week. And like, will I have the best shot? Maybe not, but like I'll have the best shot without having to buy something else and chase whoever the like low cap of the week is. And I just don't have the bankroll to do that. And my rare collection isn't big enough. And I'm sure there's some people that are the same thing with limited. Maybe they've won a couple from the common champion and then they just have like a smaller bankroll. So that might be an option for them. But one thing that I don't think people are thinking about where where it actually might come around and be the way to actually win is when we hit the playoffs. And when either there's only like 2 teams left in a game week, when we get to the NBA finals, and it's like, oh, I can put like the 2 MVP caliber players in my lineup if I have a Lundus, and then
guys, I muted TST, and here's why. I don't want him giving out this alpha. Okay, this is for us, guys. This is for us. I don't want him to say this to anything else. No, sorry, TST. That's
at what point did you mute me?
No, I let
you got it. You said you got it off.
I muted you right when I said
okay.
Yeah. No, I think that's super sharp, and I think it just goes back to like I bought him when I bought him, and then like messaged you guys about just a heads up. This is the only negative cap player,
right?
Because I did the math and I was like, oh my gosh, this beautiful lineup literally works exactly like the math works exactly only if I have this -3, and I got a high tier 2 because of that lineup that week. I haven't played him since. And
wow, you didn't share the whole lineup. You just shared
dude. What
the hell?
You
just what the hell is that, man? Like, you didn't tell me it's a perfect lineup. You're like, hey, negative cap, and I I was like, oh, okay,
maybe I didn't post the math. I think I did post the lineup in the group chat.
I'm sure.
After you won.
But I haven't played him since. But I know there will be other opportunities to do so, and I think it just comes to kind of bringing back to what John was talking about, and this overarching conversation we've always had of like, oh, which contest should you target? Like, I would think it really depends on the gallery you have, the budget you have, and just like schedule. Like, there's so many variables where every week, like, you should be looking at your options and then be like, oh, you know what? Like, the ceiling on this lineup, I wanted to play this player in the contender, but the ceiling on this lineup just makes way too much sense not to fire it all into champion. Yeah. Or even this week, for me, my Eastern Conference like lineup is doing the best. And that's because for me, I was like, okay, clearly this is the highest ceiling lineup, but I don't want to take that risk with my other 2 lineups. So since Eastern Conference is like, you know, the least important to me because there's the least amount of like prize spots available, I'm going to fire the riskiest lineup into there this week. Just because when I did the math, I was like, oh, it works out this way. Maybe this lineup, I mean, if this lineup was in my champion right now, it'd be doing much better. It's like I'm at 197, and I as long as Garland doesn't just completely put up a dud, like this thing will do pretty well. But that's because it performed well. But I think like you have to be constantly thinking like week to week and then ahead of the schedule as well, because like, I mean, you know me, I'm picking up scrubs all the time because I'm like, there's going to be so many opportunities to like
scrub man.
To plug and play these guys. Yeah, I'm the scrub daddy, you know?
Yeah.
So I want to rescind my initial comment about maybe you should like fade Luka. Because I didn't realize how close everything is. I think that goes back to what TST's point about like there's just not enough supply to where people can like pick and choose now, right? Because like less people played Luka this week because of the injury, right? But you still see like it's it's very tight between like Jokic and like the 12th guy, Kyrie. They're all within like 100, like 120 ish lineups, right? So that's not really enough to like, make that. It's not enough to take a risk of us, making a stand somewhere else, I guess is my point, right? So like,
Well, and
if
I bet you those guys at the bottom, like Kyrie and Ja, they would be higher up if they didn't get injured or suspended and their minting was stopped. Like that's how razor thin it is.
yeah.
I think
Well, and
Luka
I
too.
think like oh, go ahead.
Luka too might have lower numbers this week because some were in the contender because of his cap situation this week too.
That's
so
true.
that's like finally Luka would have been like played somewhere else maybe.
Yeah,
like, I don't that.
Yeah, I don't know how many made it in here, but yeah, no, that's a good point for sure. Oh, let's see, Luka.
Yeah, I feel like ownership
52 are in contender. Yeah,
Wow.
Probably.
I feel like ownership will matter a lot more late game of this season than it does now.
Well, so what I was gonna say then is it actually, and I don't know how easy it is to like figure this stuff out, but like it would make sense more than to fade like the cheap guys that are going to be high on. Like I was scrolling through. I mean, we don't have to like scroll through, but I saw like Rui was one of the ones that was relatively high owned this week, and like his cap was like 15 or 18 or something like that, and so like that is probably a much better example of like a guy that makes more sense to fade. Number one,
fade the scrubs, Jeb. Fade the scrubs.
Well,
Sell the scrubs.
but it's actually better because Jeb has a lot of scrubs. So like, I guess what I would say is like, don't just like go to the sheets, pick the best scrub and play him, because like that's probably what like a lot of people are doing, are playing like that best value that week. And those players are inherently a lot more volatile, right?
Right.
And so like, you can go, 1 point up or down in their projection or something and find somebody that's going to be, 10% the ownership or something of like a Rui. And I think that makes a lot more sense, because then you're pairing him with, Luka. And then you got a better shot there. So yeah, I mean, that was super interesting. Just kind of
and then
through. It would be cool to see like, I wish they had like a way to compile the historical ownership and stuff. Might just be too freaking early for it to all matter.
I think to your point, John, if you do that, you're staying ahead of the curve too. So let's say you pick someone that is not like has not pumped, but is like relatively projecting around the same point. If that player does do well, then they pump, and then you get them in your lineup already, and then you can sell them and go and pick up someone else. I mean, I stacked can cars, and he
Chanchars.
My apologies.
Someone's gonna yell at you in the chat. They yell at me every
they probably will. And he popped off, and I won a reward because I had him in my lineup, because I was like, dude, I've seen this guy play. He's going to get minutes, and it's like he's going to have a good game in the next week or two. And as soon as he popped off, I was able to move off of that after already cashing on it too. So I think to your
best.
Yeah.
And shout out to I did that with him a bunch.
Yeah, exactly. So to your point, like I think that's where looking at ownership is actually super valuable, is like fading someone who, instead of just looking at pumps, because I'm not going to buy someone at the top to play them, but fade a high ownership of a player that, maybe didn't pump super hard and you're considering buying, and instead try to pick that differentiator, because if they do hit, like you can move off of it and go on to the next one.
But I actually think, Jeb, I think what we would see is that the more popular plays are the ones that are spiking, like in the value range, not necessarily up top, but those value guys, because I know I've been guilty of it, right? And so like, and I totally agree with what both of you guys are saying, where if like those are the most volatile projections. I mean, from the DFS world, anytime there's like a cheap guy who's like 40%, you're like, oh, I'll find another cheap guy who has the same range of outcomes with the same, that like maybe is projecting a slight bit less, but you're getting all this ownership, but or all this leverage. But what's even cooler about this is not only are you gaining leverage, if you own the card, you just sell the card. So you gain leverage and then you gain ETH.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, like, so another thing that I think is going to be pretty smart to do, and I might start doing this in limited, is, and the reason I just thought of it is because of the Nas Reed thing tonight, where like the Gobert, out tag kind of came, more or less out of nowhere. I mean, he was projected as one of the better DFS values like during the day today, and then he was ruled out like 20 minutes before the game started or something. But like, so like for some of the guys like Naz Reid, right, where I just looked on like there's only 84 of him in Champion this week, and there's 200 in Contender, right? Because people were probably like he wasn't projecting well, so people were like, "Oh, we'll just throw him in like he's a 20 cap or whatever." But for some of those guys who like maybe projections wise aren't doing well, but especially on these Monday through Thursday weeks where a team has a couple games or a back to back or something where it could happen to where they could pop up. That might be like sharper to play them because again, you're like it's dependent on where you are at with your like current the way that you're trying to build your collection and your gallery and stuff, right? So like for me, I've got plenty of limiteds, and so I'm just trying to kind of hit really good limiteds versus like the rare I'm just trying to cash, right? And so on limited side, I'm willing to take a couple more risks to not cash, but on the week when Gobert sits, Naz Reid hits, and there's only 80 of them, and I have him paired with Luka or whatever, right? Then you're like running really pure, and there's probably not many lineups that you're up against. I think that is like kind of the next level that I haven't really started thinking through, but I do need to, because I'm obviously a slave to the spreadsheet, so I just kind of go for the best value every week. But like for some of those swings where missing on them is just going to kind of not be a big deal. But there's a ton of upside if you do hit. I think that's smart.
I go for it.
No, I was just gonna say I was looking at all these dog shit lineups, but I kind of like the risk taking on some of the, like as you're talking about the limited in the, I don't know, maybe again this is just my ceiling brain thinking, but doing that in the Champion where you have a shot of like leveling up for a rare, or in the rare one for a super rare, right? Where like usually that means you're taking a shot at one of these like probably not projecting really well, low cap guys that allows you to fit in another one. But again, this is garbage. TSC, you want me to bring yours up?
Yeah. So I like speaking of ceiling stuff is like I started like I'm thinking of just like even for Champion Contender, even I want like I'm thinking of doing like at least like really going after those guys that have ceiling and paying for like the higher cap for them. Like in Champion, you can easily get like 3 guys depending on who you can squeeze in that like can hit in that like 70 range. You can have your MVP that can do it regularly, and then you can have your 2 guys that are like that next tier down that are like the cheaper MVPs that like hit, once every like 5
Murray's
game
a great
weeks.
example. Murray's a great example, right?
Like
Murray,
Paul George George,
Mitchell and Garland are good, right? Because one of them sits out and the other guy goes off. That's like because that's the part that I never play. Like I will just always like, okay, I'm gonna play like, or like in common, I'll go like, okay, I'll play Luka, and then I have like, okay, Steph's like, I'll just play Steph. Like I'll just play like as many stud projections as I can, and like, but the odds are that that's just kind of being a mid-level lineup are pretty high versus like trying to play for the ultimate ceiling. Like I mean, DeJounte Murray 77 this week. Like that's what's winning you, or that's what's making that lineup do well.
Yeah, it's not Jericho Sims.
Yeah, but Jericho Sims allowed me to put Murray George like in that lineup.
Yeah.
Well, right, and that's right, but that was kind of what I was saying too, right? Like having one of those guys a lot.
He also allowed Hartenstein to score a lot of points last week.
These lineups are good, dude. Look at all these freaking rewards, though. Although you know what, dude, you're not really showing us your rares. Your rares look like dog shit, bro.
What's going on with the rares, dude? You got a 90 bagger?
Oof. That's good, 90, dude. There you go, underdog, dude. Hold on, I'm sharing mine again, just because
I want rare Champion's not that bad.
But you're not a shot, dude. You're dead.
I got games on the table here. I'm waiting.
I'm kidding.
But I'm honestly the past couple of weeks I've been so frustrated with rare. I'm like either I am going to have to spend a lot more real soon, so I'm less frustrated, or I'm just selling out and going so hard into limited.
Hell yeah.
Just like buying all the MVPs.
I like that way. Look at the 105 points from my underdog. Isn't that stupid? And that's with a 0.
It's D up, baby.
That's with a Z. And Tillman. Tillman dropped 36.
Tillman luck box tonight because he got the start.
Wow.
Yeah, I actually and the Warriors are on a back-to-back tomorrow. If Wiseman sits,
yeah.
I.
Oh yeah.
What were you gonna say?
No, I was thinking Wiseman should play, right? Or he'll sit.
I think he has a shot at playing tomorrow. Sorry, my computer's tweaking. I wanted to see say why, because if Wiseman starts and all of those sit, just give him 20 points. 20 points gets me 120. All right, we have no shot at first. Let's see what
if Wiseman has a career game? It's not possible.
Yeah, Hartenstein, dude. That's what it is. That's the little bitch. But if he goes for 50, if Wiseman goes for 50, dude, all these guys can suck it. What does first place get? Is it a tier 1?
Yeah, has to be, right?
Oh, dude, give me the Tyrese Maxey that TST once won. You know?
No, but going back to
underdogs hitting if Torrey Craig goes off tonight.
Ooh. Dude, I do. So whatever. I'm sharing this screen too, and you guys can see how sick I am tonight. Look at this. All right. So let's start with the first one. This was a dud. The Grant Williams is a piece of crap. All right, here we go. We got Jakob Poeltl already hit. Tatum,
my guy,
already hit.
Nice.
Now you did the blocks and steals. I was scared of that one.
I know, but I was vibing. I was vibing today. This one we get Sabonis, just smash. Sabonis smash. Also, shout out to Eric Gordon one time. No matter how you bet the over on Eric Gordon, it crushed. And now we got DeAndre Ayton. I've got so much Torrey Craig. I just know that we got Trae Young, Eric Gordon, some more Torrey.
I have a lot of Torrey. I just have Torrey Craig and 2 will hit if it goes off, which is.
And then I had another one that was Trae Young. A lot of lower. I'm really hoping Mikal Bridges gets the Trae Young assignment, and he just slows him down instead of Mikal Bridges. You're not gonna put Chris Paul on Trae Young. Put Chris Paul on DeJounte Murray. Let DeJounte cook for everybody. You know what I'm saying?
No, I want a bad game from DeJounte now. He had a 77. He's not hitting that again. Give me a 2, man. Keep that cap down, you know?
That's what Sohan's doing. Sohan just keeps he'll put up a 50 or 60 and then just a stinker. It's beautiful. This week sucks because I think he's out, so he's going to put up a 1, but he keeps his cap low.
No,
it is below 25. He is
the entire Spurs organization, dude. The entire Spurs organization.
He is such a cheat code. But going back to what John was saying, John, how you were talking about potentially playing that player that has that high ceiling, that is a bit more of a risk. The player right now that I think is that guy is Gabriel, or is it Wenyen? Yeah, Wenyen Gabriel. I thought his Wenyen was his last name for some reason because I always call him Wenyen. But I have I have 4 of him. I kind of want to buy more.
Why?
Because what?
Not enough Wenyen, man.
Because so I mean, this was a no-brainer this week because they had 3 games this week, so you knew
right.
He was going to get some time. Yeah. But I mean, he's gone off a couple games, and if you watch those games back and just watch how he plays, he has some level of trust from the coach. He is capable of shooting. He's capable of getting rebounds. He's capable of putting up a lot of points from a lot of different perspectives. Blocks, steals, points, all that stuff. And the Lakers are a shit show. The Spurs are a Spurs or a Lakers. Those are the teams you want to hammer because those anomalies are going to happen where for some reason, I don't know why, but I guess Jakob Poeltl or LeBron, AD, and Russ are all sitting. So they're throwing this game, and Wenyen's going to put up a 40.
Yeah, it is. That's true. I mean, I don't know if I'd go stack him. I like.
He's never put up a 40 though.
I mean, but I know what you mean. Though, for at his cap, he's been solid. I have him in my rare contender. I think.
I feel like his cap's a little high right now. He's already.
It's a little high, but it'll dip back down. Don't worry.
Yeah. I guess it's good insurance too if AD gets hurt again.
When AD gets hurt again.
Yeah,
when he gets hurt.
Yeah. It's just like with Eubanks. I wish I had more Eubanks. He never dips down low enough for me to buy more, so I only have his 1. But he just put up 34 today because Nurkic is out, and Nurkic is an injury prone player. Same thing with Okongwu. Okongwu is at $12 right now. That's the lowest he's ever been. And Capella is like eventually going to get hurt and take some time off.
Yeah.
No.
I just like Okongwu because he's good too. Like he's
Yeah,
just a good guy
Okongwu is
to have.
a monster.
I actually think your best call out of all of those you haven't mentioned yet is Zach Collins. Like because I do think Jakob Pertl's getting traded, and I don't want any exposure. I actually wrote something that I think is coming out tomorrow.
You wrote?
Yeah, I wrote a little something for Mr. LG Doucette for the first minute. So I think that's coming out tomorrow, or this week at some point. But I think I actually don't want any Jakob Pertl exposure just because if he gets traded, like maybe the market does pump, but like wherever he gets traded, he's getting traded to a scenario where he's gonna like lose time and minutes. But
correct,
like the dude that moves, like it opens it up for Zach Collins, or like we already talked about Precious Achua earlier. Like those types of guys. I actually think Bones Highland might be kind of sneaky too now that the Nuggets are talking about moving him, which I think is nuts. But I think
I currently own four Jakob Poeltls.
Yeah,
and I probably want more because he's going to pump. He's going to pump when he gets traded. I don't know if I'm holding on to any of them before his first game, but he's going to pump.
Yeah, I'm so fascinated to see because I just think the so rare users seem to be smarter than the Top Shot users. Like I
think it's the opposite.
Yeah, I don't.
What?
I can't say it's the opposite.
We haven't seen any of that.
Really? Me and Ransom Reed, I don't think he's in the chat, but him and I just all day are talking back and forth, and we're laughing because we'll see. Like, okay, Zach Collins, perfect example. I sold all my Zach Collins, like 5 or 6 of them at $16 because it's like, oh, he's coming right back down, and just immediately, like these things pump, and then people just sell off. Like
it took Top Shot like 18 months to figure that out, dude.
That's a good point. Okay, that's a good point. So,
do we remember when LaMarcus Aldridge retired?
JJ Redick retired like a year later, and it happened again.
Okay, that's a good point. Okay, You know what? It happened today with Brady, didn't it? His moment pumped to like 170 and then went all the way back down. Dude. Okay, you know what?
That's a step too far, dude. I draw the line.
My point is like there's just so like I feel like there's just so much opportunity right now as people are still figuring it out where you can just be in positions to sell or play a player. And like that, I think that's like where you want to be at all times.
I think one of the differences too, and why like you see more of a drastic pump in Sorare, like you see some like pretty quick acting, is that like listings expire.
Yeah.
So there's way less listed overall. So like the reason they come down, or like you see those really like if you look at Sorare data, it's just like a straight line up and then like comes right back down. There's not like any sort of wave or anything.
Middle finger, dude.
Yeah, all middle fingers, because like those listings don't exist that you have to eat through that did in Top Shot when it was in its biggest pump days.
If people's listening, dude, can you make a timer on your listings on Floaty, please?
Yeah, I would
but I was gonna say to Jeb's point, like you are like you're calling people stupid because like they're buying like the cards that you have listed that you.
Oh, I'm not calling anyone stupid. I was just saying that I think they're not like you guys are like, oh, they're so much smarter than Top Shot people. I'm like, no, they're at the same level.
I believe you said the opposite.
Yeah, you did say
I don't know.
Playback.
Okay, you have whoever the hell that you bought for $4 and you're selling for $12. Like I might look at that and say I can buy this for $12 and it can fit this sick lineup and I can win a $60 reward or something.
Yeah.
Right? Where so like there is the second side of the argument that there is more upside available on the buy side than there is on Top Shot, right? Because on Top Shot you're buying it and then completing a challenge and then losing money the next
week. So I think that's why this is sustainable as while Top Shot was not. Like when Top Shot was going on, all of us were like, okay, like this is not going to continue. Like there's no way people are going to just keep buying moments at like this insane price and then just watching them lose all value post challenge. But the reason this stuff does work on So Rare is because, to your point, the person buying it doesn't necessarily feel burned after playing it because they still get some use out of it. And so, yeah, so exactly. So someone on my end can feel like, oh, that was a massive W. And the person on the other end can also feel like that was a W for them.
So one of my favorite things about like the early Top Shot days, comparing it to even like when flash challenges were finally a thing, and even more so now with So Rare, is that early Top Shot things pumped for like all the same reasons, but like with no use case. Right. So like, you remember that first trade deadline where it was like every single one that got traded just went like nuts and just like nuts. And then it's just like, okay, but why? And then it would just come right back down. And there was just,
I remember I bought a DeMarcus Cousins. I remember I pre-bought a DeMarcus Cousins because I'm like, he's going to the Lakers, baby. Let's go.
Dude, I did it with, I bought a fucking 100 DeJounte Murray Top Shot debuts because I was like, he's underrated, dude. Well, like, and he was underrated. And I assumed as a platform, we would be like, oh, this guy's pretty good. I guess we should own these moments. But then Top Shot was like, here's the thing, guys. It doesn't matter what you own as long as you love it. But I wanted before the 9 Lives Lounge, because I already just got a reply to something before they start coming at me, hashtag ad. I do want to make fun of So Rare about something, and it's not the platform itself, but TST found a bunch of great stuff. Well, TST found a good thread today that was fun to read this morning. But one of my favorite things, there was a tweet, and I don't have it up, but one of my favorite tweets was someone being like, dude, you don't know, man, they could just have like the fucking streaming rights. And
it isn't like, it wasn't one tweet. So that was the one tweet, but there is one in French that was 20 tweets long. And I didn't share it to you guys because I know you guys don't read French, but like, and
I can translate tweet, dude.
But it was like, it was way too many to like even bother. But this person went on like these, like, and it was like, so like the same thing we thought about Top Shot. Other people might still think about Top Shot, and like just like, and it was just like the most Top Shot hopium, but it was just like replace Top Shot with So Rare. It was like, they could have video games, and it just like went on and on. It was like as if they were taking over FIFA. They're like, they have all these rights to all the major leagues, and they're like, this many people illegally stream like football games, so like therefore they could just have the streaming rights.
All free
then it was like TV. in real life, like meeting all the players and the teams. It was just like this list.
Yeah, what I love too though, like I just like, they're like, dude, yeah, this fantasy sports game platform, or this fantasy sports platform is sick. But what if we just became Netflix instead?
Wait, guys, what if we just became EA? Like, why do fantasy when we can do video games?
Dude, we're actually, you know what? You want to go to the moon? We're actually a rocket company now. Like, I just like, no one's allowed to have a good time. Like, no one's allowed to have fun with what's there. They're like, dude, you think, what if they're moments instead of cards? Like,
dude,
well, that's what I hope. I hope they don't freaking do any of that shit. Like, I hope
better not. No,
I hope that they like toss a couple more like IRL things to the leaderboards, and like, you know, I don't know, some like
absolute banger.
Oh my gosh. And then like,
no, I know that. I know this, Andy. I know,
but like Top Shot did that stuff too.
So, right. Like, so like that's the, but that's what I'm saying. Like, they can keep doing like that stuff as prizes, right? And like I think they did League Pass or whatever. Like, whatever. Like, keep doing stuff as prizes as part of your fantasy game. Like, do jerseys, do whatever the hell you want, but don't like do all this other crap. Like, don't do challenges, and like don't do like I don't know, whatever the streaming stuff is. I don't really understand what that means, but like just like do fantasy stuff and like have cooler prizes. Like, that's it.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing with Top Shot is like they're creating something brand new. They're kind of going into unknown waters.
It was right there in front of us.
Like So Rare does not have to reinvent the wheel. Dude, the chat is always so hilarious. But they literally should copy like DraftKings bar for bar. Like DraftKings gives away like free stuff and like experiences and all that, but the core is the fantasy game. And there is no reason that So Rare should ever drift away from that or try to like fix something that's not broken. You can add cool prizes, you can do a lot of cool things. Do not like mess with like the core mechanics of why this works, because you have defined exactly what it is. You have set the rules, and like people like don't break anyone's trust. Like it's so simple.
Yeah, but Jed, have you ever thought about when you play a lineup, if that meant you could then watch the games of the players in your lineup?
Okay, I'm listening. I'm listening.
For free.
Whoa. Okay, never mind.
But one thing that I would say would be cool is and I don't really know. Okay, I still am confused with the whole streaming thing.
Team captains?
Oh god damn it. But so because I think I don't know if it was Red Zone or like there was a channel that did this to where you could like plug in what your fantasy team was, and it would like kind of keep track of it like on the side of like whatever game you were watching. If there was like a companion that could do that, right? And you could like plug on League Pass and it would show which bros in your lineup are like in that game and what their So Rare score is.
Yeah.
Like that would be sick. And I don't
AI
know
Red Zone, baby. AI Red Zone.
Like that's not them
but that's a like, partnership. That's not something they should develop on their own.
Yeah, what's Evaluate doing?
We throw them a couple hundred G's and figure it out.
Floaty, baby. Floaty.
Yeah.
But that would be cool. Like now, because I'm always like checking my phone to be like, okay, he's got. Did he beat last night's score yet? Or like, you know, whatever. Like,
infinite objects. Just have it just dreaming scores. Oh man, sorry. I just looked up how to say connecting and collecting in French, and I was gonna because I thought that'd be after we had the team captains. But it's not as funny as I thought it was gonna be. It's just like literally connection and collecting. Like that's stupid. You're So Rare hooligan. Shut it. Yeah. All right. We do need to get out of here. But before we still have one more official business thing we got to do. But before we do that, what do we got coming up on the docket? TSD, you got anything coming down the pipe?
Just put out game preview, game week 31 preview, like, I don't know, 2 hours ago now.
Nice, dude.
So go watch that.
Nice. All right, go check out TST's channel. JBB, do you have anything coming down the pipeline?
I don't think we got much going on. Just So Rare, and we'll probably start thinking about March Madness soon. So we'll get some new contests going on the Discord, but that's about it.
All right, there you go. Jeb, I'll have you go last. For me, what's coming down the pipeline? We've got the morning show tomorrow at 9 a.m., value hunting in the afternoon. On Friday, we'll have the morning show. We'll have Live Before Lock with our man Ghost. I think we have a guest on. No, maybe I can't remember. We have a guest coming soon. Tomorrow, actually, I don't know if I think it's going to be a recorded video, but I'm going to buy my first Premier League moment instead of lineup. I tried to buy like 3 different things today, and Andrew Laird from So Rare Dad, I was like, I don't do it yet. It's just like everything's too expensive.
Everything's inflated.
But I really want to put a lineup in. So I'm going to do that. Oh, Bottomline said he went to see Mbappe this week. Dude, you saw Mbappe and Wemby in like the same week.
That's sick.
Shot Tank next week is back on Jeb's channel. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right, Jeb, as we get out of here, tell us what you got for content. And then once the content stuff is over, or once any plugs are over, you got 1 minute, and it could be all world or it can be whatever you want.
Any Zoomer topic. Got it.
Yep.
Okay. Hopefully, so I've been sick. I was really hoping to make some content this weekend, but I'm hoping I can get a new So Rare video out soon, and then fingers crossed some longer form NBA All World content coming soon. But
There we go. All right, here we go. 1 minute starts now.
All right. So NBA All World's actually like really exciting right now. I just think there's so much potential here. I've had some conversations with some people, and like if you played Pokemon Go in the beginning, which I did, you'll know that like the game has developed so much in the last like 4 or 5 years. So I just think
Pokemon Go is still developing.
Well, it is. It is. The game.
Don't make me pause the minute.
Yeah, don't
Okay.
pause
It's
the minute.
evolving. It's evolving.
The game in 2016 is so much different. It was bare bones compared to now. And as a result, like NBA All World, I think they've already partnered with Adidas and Puma and like Under Armour and all these brands. There's just so much opportunity for them to build on top of it. Like the gameplay, not great. It's a very grindy system right now. It's very basic. The graphics aren't incredible. Oh, respect Ransomware. Dude, I used to drive around San Luis Obispo playing Pokemon Go in my car. Definitely, like, looking back, not a wise decision.